Well, it looks like the sun finally decided to come out after I'd been outside all day getting the chickens prepped for our trip coming up tomorrow. We're leaving and the rain has officially stopped. I've been outside all day in the rain prepping the chickens, and now as soon as I decide to shoot the video, it stops. But at least we get some dryness. At least there are some blue skies above me, and we are pretty excited to be hitting some blue skies here pretty soon. We are headed to Maui for a while. It's gonna be kind of the first real vacation that Will and I have ever taken as a couple. Well, we are going with family, but it's like the first real vacation. Like we've gone to a few different states together, and it's always for something else, like a wedding or to visit my parts of family or his parts of family. And so we've never really had just like a fun tropical like getaway, or like, you know, just like a relaxing, you know, we go camping, but like that's not relaxing. Like that's adventure. And so we're really looking forward to it, and it's going to be a good time. But that is causing me to prep the chickens and get the chickens completely ready for our time away. So the way that I've set up my coop is so that we could do things like this. We like to get away. We go and camp often. You know, we'll go and hang out with friends in different places for the weekend or a long weekend or whatever. And so I wanted to make sure that my coop was set up so that my chickens could be sufficient for about a week, and that I wouldn't need to do anything extra. And if someone was coming to watch them, all they were doing was collecting eggs. And I did that specifically for this reason. So we also made sure to get a trusted friend to just be able to come over and watch our chickens. Those are the first two things that you're going to want to do if you want to have chickens, but also like have a very social life and still be able to travel and things like that. And that is probably the question I get asked the most. What do you do with your chickens while you're gone? Can you have chickens and still travel? You know, those are important questions to ask yourself before you get chickens, before you commit, because they can be a good amount of work. But if you set yourself up in a way so that they are kind of sufficient without you for about a week, that really gives you a lot of wiggle room to go and do the things that you want. And then having someone come and watch them, or, you know, collect eggs is really all that you need to do, versus having someone come and change bedding daily or feed them daily. That becomes a lot of work, and it becomes harder to find someone who's actually willing to come and do those things for chickens, especially if you don't have someone around you who is used to being around chickens and things like that. So I just finished everything up. That's what I've been spending today doing, is just kind of getting them prepped for our trip. And so, of course, I have not packed myself. It's all about the chickens first. Chickens always come first here. So the chickens are now prepped for our trip, and I'm just going to show you everything that I've done and kind of the systems that I have in place that allows us to be able to leave for a couple weeks and be okay with the chickens being here and just having one friend come over, watch them, and collect eggs. So here's a good look at the inside of my coop. And here I've got about, I would probably say about 12 inches of bedding. And what that is the deep bedding method. I'm not going to get too far into that, but basically you put shavings on top of droppings and more shavings. And in here I use hemp bedding. I prefer hemp because it doesn't collect as much dust. It's far more absorbent. I get that from Eaton Pet and Pasture. I will link that below for you. I do have an affiliate link if you want to support me. Anyways, I use hemp in here, and I use a deep bedding method. I would say that this method in particular is one of the big reasons that we can go and not have to worry about the chickens too often, because I only change out this bedding once a week. And so by change out, I actually mean I add more bedding to the droppings. So I'll come in, I'll rake it up, and then I'll add more bedding on top of what is already in there. This keeps your coop super clean. It is a very good system for someone who doesn't want to be cleaning out the coop every single day or every couple days. That's why I prefer to use it. So usually about every 6 months, 6 to 8 months, I will pull all of this bedding out, and then I'll add it into our compost. What that does is provides us with some amazing compost, and it keeps me from being out here very often cleaning up the chicken coop. There's also really no smell when you use the deep bedding method. I think that's a fear of a lot of people, is that you're gonna get chickens and it's gonna be smelly. I never have an issue with smell. I bring people over here, I make them stick their face in the coop. I'm like, does it smell? And they all say no. So it's really handy for that, keeping the smell down. And also, all you have to do is come out here, rake it up a little bit, add shavings to it once a week, and then you're good to go. You don't really need to do much more than that. I'm gonna apologize in advance about any loud noises. There's a tree or something coming down, and that's just what happens when you live in the city. We are very, very excited to be getting out of here, hopefully soon. We're looking, and we're excited. That's all I'm gonna say for now. So we've got the nesting boxes here. All I did for these was added some fresh nesting pads, and those will be good to go for a few weeks. Actually, I don't need to do anything special with those. The chickens are actually quite clean inside their nesting boxes. If you're having issues with droppings and things like that in your nesting boxes, it's likely because they aren't enjoying roosting, either meaning your roost isn't higher than your nesting boxes. It's not high enough for them because they like to be at the highest point. There might be a little competition going on in there. I know during the winter months, one of my chickens, the one that's at the bottom of the pecking order, she was sleeping in the nesting boxes. And so what I kind of did to avoid that was just built a little bit of camaraderie amongst the birds. I gave them more treats right before bedtime inside their coop so that they could kind of come together, munch on some treats, and then head up to the roost together. And that kind of seemed to help break that habit. So here you can get a good view of the run. And I'm not a huge fan of what's going on in here right now. It is basically just mud underneath my feet, and there used to be grass in this area, but chickens demolished it. If you have chickens over a small patch of grass for a long time, they will completely ruin it. So be prepared for that if you're getting backyard chickens. Blue's making friends with the other dog across the yard. She does that. They're buddies, fence buddies. So it's very mucky, so you can see it. And it's pretty wet. And I've been thinking, I'm like, should I put some bark down? You know, they have those like pellets that are condensed and they absorb a lot of moisture. So I could put those down on the ground. They're just like little pine pellets. But I think when we leave, we will probably, because we're just renting this house, right? And we're gonna get our farm here this year, hopefully this year. So it's hard for me to want to invest a whole lot into fixing this up, especially because the drier months are coming. We've kind of braved the worst of the winter, at least I would hope. So hopefully, you know, I can figure out something that will kind of get us through the last little stretch of the winter months, because this ground is pretty mucky. And they have an area, so this is kind of their favorite side of this area. You can see that they've got lots of trees in here, and it's much prettier in here during spring and summer when these Japanese maples are completely filled out, and there's not nasty leaves everywhere. So I'm definitely missing that time of the year and this beautiful backyard for what it is during the spring and summer, but we're getting there. The days are getting longer. The sun's starting to come out more often. Just keep telling myself to be patient. So I've got a door here that leads into our covered run. The chickens have their own door that will automatically open and close. And that is a big part, another big part of why we can just leave them here. This door is super handy. It will just do its thing. It's based off of light, and so it opens and closes. I did make sure that there was batteries enough in it so that it won't go out while we're gone or anything like that. This is a new door that I made. I have the old door there. I'm actually going to put that to use for a project I will share a little later. So this is the new door. I just made it out of some fence boards and some scrap wood. Works perfect. So now let's head into the run. Welcome to the chicken run. We have their coop underneath here, and we've got a nice dry area for the chickens to escape to whenever they need it. The sides are currently tarped off as kind of a windshield. This is their feeding area. I have 2 tube feeders that will last a full week. With that feed set up, our friend is only gonna have to come out here once, add some feed to the feeders, and be done with it. I'm not gonna make him change the water. All he has to do is add some feed and the chickens will be good until we get back. And then that's nice for me too, because I usually come out here, I do chicken chores about once a week. That's when I add more bedding, I add more feed to the feeders, I change out the water, just check for anything that might need to be fixed, because that so often happens. And so that's kind of when I do my chicken chores, and then that leaves time for me each day to just come and hang out with the chickens and be with them, give them treats and just enjoy their company. I don't really have to worry about, you know, actually doing some chores and like, you know, getting things done. I can spend my time and focus on them. So that's a big reason, another big reason why I set my coop up like this, so that I could just spend majority of my time hanging out with my chickens. Another key part of this chicken run is the dust bath. The chickens need a place to go and dust in some very nice dry soil. So to kind of prep the dust bed, I added some extra diatomaceous earth and some sulfur. My dust bath material is literally just garden soil, diatomaceous earth, and sulfur. It's that simple for me. You can really put whatever you want in your dust bath. It's just so that the chickens can go, they can get what they need to off their feathers, they can keep parasites like mites and lice and things like that off of them, and the diatomaceous earth and the sulfur helps keep those things off of them. They don't like those things, and so the chickens dust in it and it keeps them away. And that's why I put them in my dust bath. I think it's good to do a little bit of your own research on what you want to put in your dust bath, because I think there's a little bit of controversy around what goes into a chicken's dust bath, but this is what I've used for 2 years now. So that's the coop setup. It's nothing fancy, but it's very functional, it's self-sufficient, and that's what I really wanted out of my coop. And if you want to travel and go do things on the weekends and kind of spend time away from your home, this is the way to go. Make sure your coop is self-sufficient, because you definitely can have chickens and be able to travel and go and do the things that you want to do. My best advice to you is set yourself up for success, make your coop self-sufficient, and get a very good trusted friend who is either willing to learn a little bit about chickens, or has had chickens in the past, or just has chickens now. They know something just a little bit about chickens, and they're willing to learn. If not, have a trusted friend that you can come over, collect eggs for you, and maybe do a couple things while you're away, but make it easier for them so that they're actually willing to come and help out. That's my 2 cents. Thanks so much for hanging out. Hope you have a great day.